Right, boys and girls attack helicopters, whatever. Why not? Let's spend a little bit more time on this absolute ridiculous, childlike buffoon. I'm only doing this because the first video I did on him a few days ago has done well in terms of views, so clearly you enjoyed it. I didn't want to waste any more heartbeats or any more efforts breathing to deal with this boy any further and give him any further attention. He's already had more than he deserves, well and truly. Nonetheless, because you enjoyed the first one so much, let's do another one. He sent me an email today. Perhaps I'm a sucker for punishment, and the email said that he had debunked me again, despite the fact that his first debunking video of me on 5 attempts at debunking me fell flat on its face on every single one of those 5 points, and not even a little bit, a lot. He made a fool of himself. He's the laughing stock of the entire community, and I presume this is his attempt at saving face in some way, or indeed perhaps garnering yet more interest by being a buffoon and being an ill-educated child without the first idea about anything he's talking about. So let's enjoy this one for a laugh, shall we, and see where he's going with this, and we'll put him right where he's wrong. And guess what? Just by way of spoiler, yes, that's right. Where he's wrong is, once again, fucking everywhere. All right, let's hear it, though. Right, so obviously the brain's trust. Obviously this is clearly a measured, clearly a well thought out response that we're going to get here. Anyway, let's hear this debunkment of me again in some way.
I now declare total war on the carnivore community.
Right, so you're declaring total war on the carnivore community. Good, good. That's a great comeback. That debunks me absolutely by itself.
To end this farce once and for all.
Yes, the farce. What farce is that? I think we know what the farce is here, don't we, boys and girls? The farce is this child here. This frankly not ill-educated, this totally uneducated child, this ridiculous little boy who is lacking even the most basic semblance of common sense, let alone respect for his elders, betters, and those who are in vastly more credentialed and authoritative positions on things like nutrition and human physiology than he is. Okay, so let's hear it though.
Bart, I debunk you one last time.
No, you don't. Still, by the way, you failed 5 times in your video the other day to debunk me completely. You fell flat on your stupid face. You made an absolute arse of yourself. Nearly 10,000 people have viewed that video, and they are all laughing at you, boy. They all think you are a ridiculous joke. No, you didn't debunk me then, and you're not going to do it here either. But have a go anyway.
I don't want to hear any more about you.
Yeah, I don't want to hear any more about you either, son, ever again. You are done here in this space. You've made, as it turns out, about 3 videos about me. Every single one of them fails completely to hit the mark. Every single one of them will fail completely to get you any notoriety of any kind, except that people will understand what a buffoon you are, what a child you are, how vacuous and destitute you are, and desperate for attention you are. You sad little sack of shit. What's next?
Ever again! You have wasted so much of my time!
No, it's not me that's wasting time here, son. I'm just cashing in on the views, frankly, and amusing my people no end because they think you're as funny as fuck.
Let's start with this debunking.
Yes, let's start with the debunking. We're waiting for a debunking. It's been a long time since I've been debunked by anybody. Oh, that's right. It's never happened by anybody. I have never been debunked. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because I'm careful about what I say, and I make sure that what I say is correct before I say it. Vastly more experienced, educated, mature, sophisticated academics even than you are, boy, have tried for 25 years to debunk me, and not one of them's got it done. What makes you think in a purple fuck you're going to get anywhere near it? You ridiculous little child. I nearly said another C word. No, not calories. The other one. Carry on.
For all. Point 1. Ketosis.
Yes, we've spoken about ketosis in your last video, and you got it wrong on that video. Are you going to do any better on this one?
Do you understand there are no indigenous groups in ketosis?
False. That is not true. There are a number of indigenous societies who do experience ketosis, as is appropriate to their situation and the part of the world they live in and the situation that they live in under the circumstances that they live, and that do have the metabolic processes by which to go into and out of ketosis, just like, well, all human beings living anywhere in the world, be they indigenous to the part of the world that they live in or whether they're not. Your fascination with indigenousness just points to your absolute complete destitution and lack of experience, knowledge, or capacity to even understand the basics. Boy, what's next?
Do you know that the Inuit, for example, the Inuits, they cannot even get into ketosis?
That is also false, you ridiculous little boy. Yes, they can. So now first you're saying there are no indigenous populations that are in ketosis, I guess meaning can be in ketosis at any given time. That is false, so fail. Now you're saying the Inuit cannot get into ketosis, which is also false. They can. The Inuit have lower levels of fed ketones than what would be expected for a population consuming the diet that the Inuit do consume. The subarctic populations who eat a diet even remotely similar in terms of macronutrient makeup all experience much higher levels of ketones in their blood in the fed state than do the Inuit at large. It turns out that is because the Inuit have a sweep, a total sweep actually in their population of a genetic SNP, which is a variation on the CPT1A enzyme in their metabolic pathways, and it's encoded for by a SNP that's called L479. That reduces their blood ketone levels, what has several knock-on effects, including a lowered level of blood ketones in the fed state. Yes, we're well aware of it. Of course we are. I mean, I've only been studying physiology longer than you've been alive, boy. So why in the purple fuck would you imagine that I'm not aware of this? Of course I am. There are several reasons why that particular genetic sweep occurred and why that L479 variation on their CPT1A is prevalent in those particular individuals, and it is situational. It's to do with where they live and what their diet is. We can talk about that in a bit when you say a bit more to make yourself look even more stupid. So yes, there are indigenous populations who can get into ketosis. So false on your first statement. False on your second statement that the Inuit can't get into ketosis. Yes, they can. They just do so at a lower level than do others from subarctic regions. The reasons for which I'll talk about soon, as I said. So two statements of so-called fact, both incorrect. So your debunking's going great for you, son. Keep going. You're doing a great job.
This is the group that you carnivores like to talk about the most.
Oh, you're not a carnivore, are you not? I'm not surprised that you don't identify as being a member of the human race. I wouldn't have you, frankly, in the human race myself, so that doesn't surprise me at all. Human beings, however, whether you like it or not, dickhead, are carnivores. That's our genetic background, that's our genetic gift, that's how our organ systems are arranged and designed, that's how our metabolic systems work, that's what we are, whether you like it or not. Whether that's in line with your Paul Saladino, Arginus loving, Joey Swartz loving love-in that you boys are having there, using, I don't know, fats to grease up your nipples and get excited because neither one of you is able to maintain an erection or something. Whatever you do in your own time is your own thing. Right, what's next?
Because they're on low carb, they're on zero carb. Yeah, they're on zero carb. But did you know that they're not?
No, they're not on zero carb because there's carbohydrate to be found in meat. Idiot. They're on very low carb. So your first statement was correct. Your second statement was incorrect on that. So, well, 3 out of 3, false.
In ketosis. That means that nature actively selected against them getting into ketosis.
No, it in fact didn't, you idiot. Wrong again. See, that's 4 out of 4. False. It is thought that the reason that the L479 variation on the CPT1A gene in the Inuits became selected for and the standard variation became selected against, there are several really good hypotheses, actually. Number one, in actual fact, the L479 variation raises the benchmark, raises the level at which the intake of protein would cut ketosis off, shut down the ketogenic process by way of gluconeogenesis. So in fact, the Inuit, if anything, have a higher capacity to produce ketones in the face of a very high protein intake that the standard variation on that gene would not allow and would have the ketosis shut off much earlier. As it is, that appears to be, among other things, a glucose, it's often referred to as a glucose sparing effect. It's not actually glucose sparing per se, though. That's the wrong way of thinking about it. It's actually herding glucose to the brain tissues, to the testes, to those tissues that do need that glucose, and actually actively discouraging the use of glucose as a oxidative fuel source in other metabolically active tissues such as muscles, which makes perfect sense in that situation. Further to this glucose channeling or selective utilization effect of that L79 SNP, it's also thought that that's a very important adaptation to cold in particular, which is why you will find that the same sort of macronutrient makeup in indigenous populations living below the Arctic Circle at the same time did not develop this. And it's to do with the effects really on melanoyl coenzyme A and all of that particular linkage in with the brown adipose tissue for thermogenesis in the face of a cold environment. So those are the reasons for it. All of them have had the knock-on effect, actually, of lowering the level of ketones in the blood of the Inuit in the fed state. But it actually hasn't knocked down their ability to go into ketosis or stay in ketosis. Actually, it's a trade-off in terms of that glucose channeling and brain adipose tissue heat production issue. And in actual fact, if anything, the L479 SNP leads to an increased risk of sudden infant death syndrome, and indeed sudden death syndrome in slightly older individuals as well, due to a sudden loss of sufficient energy to the brain under certain circumstances, mostly if they're unable to eat regularly. Inuit are unable to fast, is what I'm telling you. They must eat regularly. So that's a trade-off for that heat production, glucose channeling effect. It's not because ketosis is bad for you at all. You pathetic, ridiculous, ignorant, uneducated little boy. You are trying to take pot shots at a gentleman, myself, who has studied the metabolic processes here for longer than you have been on the planet. You are a joke. You are completely out of your depth and singularly lacking in the respect that you ought to have for someone in my position. That is why my people are laughing at you. That is why you are a joke, son. Okay? That is why I'm bothering to do this, to give them the amusement and edification they all deserve. All right? So, fail completely on the ketosis and Inuit argument. Complete failure. No points still. What's next?
Meaning ketosis is bad for us.
No. Ketosis is not bad for us. Not at all. Long-term deep ketosis, whereby you don't cycle out of it on a relatively common cycle, like maybe once a day or once every other day, by means of having a decent bolus of protein, actually. Those of you who don't have Inuit genes, that is. That can be bad for your thyroid function, and that can also be bad for your electrolyte balance issues. If you are of Inuit descent, that won't apply to you for the reasons I've just spoken about. But everybody else, ketosis is fine so long as it's undertaken in a species-appropriate, ancestrally appropriate manner for you, depending on what your genes are and where those genes have come from. Okay? What's next?
It's a state where we don't have energy.
No, it isn't. Ketones are used for energy, you buffoon. That's why they're produced. That energy being derived from the breakdown of fat into ketones so that it can be quickly shuttled to the tissues needing that energy. Okay? So yes, we do still have energy. Plenty of it, in fact.
Survival mode.
No, it's not a survival mode. It's part of our overall metabolic functioning. That's a normal part of the system. That's a completely normal thing. There's no problem with it whatsoever. It's encoded for in your genes. Those genes have been around a lot longer than this boy. This boy's been around about 20 years, just over, and the genes that I'm talking about have been around about 13,800 million. Okay, so can we move on, son?
Also,
all right. So that was your ketosis argument, was it? So you failed again, completely again. Absolute destitute failure, ridiculous. I hope my people are laughing at you ever more heartily. Ha ha ha!
Ketosis makes you feel so energetic. Why many carnivores and many prominent figures still are drinking coffee to this day?
What does what some people choose to do have to do with what is ideal for human beings and what is indicated for human beings? And what does coffee have to do with ketosis? Other than not a single fucking thing. Coffee is not indicated. Coffee is not ideal. Coffee is a recreational drug that ideally should be eliminated from people's lives. I've never said otherwise, ever. Neither do I require coffee. I have chosen at times to drink coffee when I want to. I pay the price for having done so. It is a decision I made individually at that time. The same is true of my consumption of alcohol from time to time and my consumption of other things that are off-piste and off-plan from time to time. None of those things undertaken by myself or any other carnivore influencer has any impact whatsoever on the facts or on what is in fact ideal or not ideal. And I don't believe any of us have said otherwise. You're straw manning, and it's pathetic, and it will not work, and it will not get you any points. It certainly doesn't debunk me, because I have never said coffee is indicated. Not once, not ever.
Like steak and butter, gal. Rena from 5 Minute Body. Ken Berry.
So you've just named 3 prominent carnivore influencers who may or may not drink any amount of coffee on any given day. So fucking what? That does not affect what is ideal. That does not affect the fact that the carnivore diet, 100% carnivore diet, is ideal physiologically. End of. Nothing you've said proves otherwise.
Carnivore Quest.
Well, 4.
And many more. Why? Bart,
Well, because it's a decision that they make at that time. Because drugs often have a dopaminergic or other payoff physiologically that people enjoy, and whether they're educated as to their metabolic consequences or not, they make a decision on any given day to drink coffee or to not drink coffee. Whether they drink coffee or not on any given day makes no difference to whether they should, because they still shouldn't. Okay?
Hey, if this was a bald little head, I would just take it like this with my 2 fingers and just...
Okay, so that's the second time in a video that I've seen this boy profess that he would like to do violence to me. Number one, that's against the YouTube terms of service and would open you to complaints from any member of the YouTube viewing public who might like to report your video for such a breach of such terms. And secondly, son, anytime you want to come to New Zealand, you just let me know when you're coming, which airport you'll be arriving at, and I will give you instructions where to meet me face-to-face, son, any day of the week and twice on Sundays. And we'll see who it is who's up for that challenge. Okay? Any day of the week. You are invited. Okay?
Throw it, boom, and that sound, throw it into the forest and smash it once for all.
It's been a very, very long time since I have been involved actively in dealing with little boys like you, physically when it's required. But I'm not that rusty, sunshine. I'm ready for action.
Obviously, I cannot do that. I would go in jail.
No, you wouldn't, because if you tried remotely, even for a split second, to affect any form of violence against me or anybody I care about, son, it will be the last thing you ever did. Ever. Are we clear?
Number 2, salt. Bart K, you know more than me
Yes, that's the first thing you've said that's correct.
that scientists are paid and they have agendas.
Yes, and I've never said otherwise.
So I'm not gonna give you any scientific studies.
Because you have no skills in science, you have no background in science, you have no ability to interpret science, let alone basic facts, common sense, or how to show deference and respect to your elders and betters. That's got nothing to do with your beliefs about science. It's because you're completely out of your depth.
Because you know more than me, man. That
Yes, I do. Yes, absolutely. On every topic.
they don't have a point. Vegans have scientific studies proving.
No, they don't, son. That's my point. That's what I'm saying. You don't understand this at all. No, they don't.
Their points.
No, they don't. No.
You know, they don't mean anything.
That's right. The vegan studies don't mean anything. Neither does your false interpretation of what you think the Inuits are capable of or not capable of mean anything either, because we've seen how good your interpretation of that was. 0 out of 10. Repeat the class next semester. Next time, maybe do some research before you open your ignorant mouth about something that you know nothing about. How's that?
But I can tell you one thing, that me and every person I know that has quit salt stops having to drink 4 liters of water a day.
Great anecdotes. Great story. More emphasis on the dragons, I think, next time. Perhaps a bit less incest between you and Joey. I don't drink 4 liters of water a day, and I never have, and I consume as much salt as I want to.
Okay? Stop having to wake up in the middle of the night 3 to 4 times just to pee.
I've never had to do that, son. The most likely reason that someone might have to do that is because of diabetes, in fact. Have you had yourself tested for that? That would be my first suggestion to you. Go and have a look at your A1Cs and your blood glucose control, son. It's probably up the pole.
Stop looking puffy. Start.
Yeah, well, okay. What I'm going to invite in terms of that comment is I'm going to invite everybody to have a look at the screen right now and cast their eyes left and then right and then left and then right again and then back here, because this is where the action's at. I think I've made my point as to who's puffy. Right, what's next?
Having more energy.
Who's got more energy? And how would you define that? I've got enough energy to sit through your pustulous, excremental, valueless noise in order to amuse my people and educate them still further.
Because salt is not the right way to get sodium in your diet.
Yes, it is. It's one perfectly acceptable way of getting sodium into your diet. There's no problem with taking salt.
Yeah, it's true. You say that the kidneys can excrete excess salt.
Yes, they can, and they do. It's one of their jobs.
Yeah, right. But you're giving your body more work to do.
That's what it's designed to do. It's not work for your kidneys to do what they're designed to do. There's no logic to your statement there whatsoever. By that same logic, you should never do any exercise, because that's giving your muscles more work to do. You should never get out of bed at all, because that's giving your cardiovascular system more work to do. You should never go to school and learn anything, because that's giving your brain work to do. Perhaps you've already bought into that. Not perhaps, you have. Right, I think we're getting the picture. Still no points for you, you stupid, ignorant child. What's next?
For your unnatural and unhealthy lifestyle.
That's nothing unnatural or unhealthy about my lifestyle. I'm not perfect, and I've never claimed to be. But compare me to, well, pretty much any other man you like of my age. I'm doing pretty damn well.
Isn't it the same thing when you put like seedles in your mouth, in your body, and then your body has to detox from them?
No, it isn't the same process at all. You ridiculous buffoon. Once again, you're showing absolutely no understanding whatsoever of basic physiology, which is what we'd expect from someone like you who has no training, no schooling, no skills, no knowledge, and no respect for people who do. That's why you end up living on a nipple-licking community with your little mate Joey. That's why you're both going to end up where you're headed. I don't wish it upon you, but that's what's going to happen. Watch this space.
Literally the same thing.
No, it literally isn't the same thing.
Stop poisoning yourself.
No, salt is not a poison.
Knowing how the meat...
Well, poison, the dose makes the poison on any poison. There are some things that are useful at a certain level, and too much can be problematic, yes, and salt is one of those things, absolutely. Do you know how much salt is too much, son? I suspect not, given that you don't know anything about, well, anything at all. You have no knowledge, skills, or experience in any field of endeavour whatsoever. None. I can tell you that the amount of salt that I consume is ideal after a lot of N=1 experimentation. So there's no question about that in my mind. I've done some pretty good, pretty well-controlled scientific work looking into my individual need for salt, and I've got it bang on.
Meat feels like and tastes like how nature has intended it, and you will feel healthier. You don't need any studies. Just base yourself from experience, from the...
Well, not just base yourself on experience. If, of course, you are going to base yourself on experience, perhaps you should take advice with regards experience from someone that actually has some in life, not a kid, not a child like this boy here. And you would also expect that experiential knowledge base would be tempered with some actual theoretical training and skills as well, both of which I have, and neither of which you have, you silly little boy.
People around us. This is the most important thing. Studies are biased. Scientists have agendas.
Yes.
Barkey!
See, just a lunatic. A boy with serious mental health problems. Not to mention absolutely rampant Dunning-Kruger. Delusions of grandeur, huge overconfidence in himself and his own abilities. As I say, son, bring yourself down here to New Zealand. Come visit me, son. Let me know when you're coming.
I have to say, though, that at least you're congruent.
With what?
You follow an unnatural diet.
No, I don't. Not at all.
And you have an unnatural girlfriend.
No, not at all again.
Beam just makes me so angry, man. Ah!
Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. Oh, dear idea. I won't even go there, I don't think. It'll get me in trouble, boys and girls. It's the second thing he said that makes any sense, perhaps.
Point number 3.
Oh, there's more points. We haven't made any points that have actually worked yet.
Bart K, I could even accept if you just said that a cooked carnivore diet is a good diet. Yeah, fine. It's better than a standard American diet. It's better than what people eat in the UK.
Number 1, stop misrepresenting what I have and have not said like you're about to. I just know you are. You lying little toe rag. Secondly, I don't give a fetid rat's asshole what you can accept or not accept. You are nobody, son. You are an irrelevant, excremental streak of duck shit. You have no value in my life or in my experience. There is nothing you could say that would affect me in any way, shape, or form other than to amuse me wildly at your expense. You literally, I would suggest, would fail to make 3 figures on an IQ test. Incredible.
In New Zealand, in Italy, I cannot accept, though.
I don't care what you can accept, and neither does anybody that follows me or has more than 3 brain cells. None of them care what your opinion is, because your opinion is not just as valid as the next person's. You have no basis to espouse an opinion. You are nobody. And your opinion is worth nothing to anybody. You are a fool.
That you say that is the optimal diet for humans.
Well, that's because that's what the evidence tells us unequivocally. Prove me wrong. Good luck. Because, as I say, far more sophisticated individuals than you have been trying to prove me wrong for a quarter of a century, and not one of them has yet succeeded in debunking anything I've had to say factually, because I'm very careful what I do say.
Optimal diet for humans is raw meat.
No, it isn't. It's meat. It doesn't need to be raw. It can be raw or cooked. Either is fine.
Even if you wanted to tell me that cooked meat had every single nutrient,
it does.
Do you understand that you're destroying the enzymes?
No. Number 1, you're not destroying the enzymes. And number 2, the exact requirement in the human diet for enzymes of another animal is none. Humans make all the enzymes they need in their system themselves. They're encoded for by genes that have survived a very, very long time. The whole idea is that the proteins of other animals are broken down to constituent amino acids and branch chain amino acids at the largest. Sometimes the odd peptide remains intact for reconstruction and recycling and use by the person consuming those nutrients for their own needs. You do not need to consume any enzymes to be fit, healthy, and well. You absolute ignorant cocksplat. You mindless fuck trumpet. You steaming pile of cock breakfast.
Like you're denaturing the proteins, meaning you're destroying the enzymes.
No, you're not, and it doesn't matter even if you were.
That means that to digest that food...
Yeah, what happens when you digest that food? It goes into your stomach and it gets doused in an acidic solution in your stomach, usually with a pH around about 1.5 to 2 at the time you consume the meat, and that basically dissolves the lot, pretty much. Okay, it's normal, it's natural, it's what's supposed to happen. That's the absolute genetic design, naturalistic design. That's how it is, and you are an ignorant little boy still.
you need to deplete your own enzymes, meaning you will age faster.
Oh my God, this boy clearly knows nothing about anything. Your genes encode for the production of enzymes. Your genes don't change throughout your lifespan in that respect. As long as you have the constituent amino acids to generate the enzymes required, you'll still have the genes to do it, and your body's ability to generate those things is absolutely assured. Okay, what's next?
You will be more exposed to disease.
No, wrong again.
And even if there was traces of vitamin C in your cooked meat,
which there is, and perfectly enough to subserve the needs for vitamin C. How do I know that? Well, I don't have scurvy. That's how I know that.
you're still exposing yourself to much higher chances of developing scurvy.
Nonsense. Absolute rubbish. Wow. Point me to a single verified, diagnosed and recorded case of scurvy in someone eating a 100% muscle meat of ruminant animal diet with associated fat, salt and water if you like, butter even if you want to, and I will apologise and withdraw. No such case has ever been recorded in the scientific medical literature anywhere on this planet. Not one. You silly boy. Let's move on.
We have proofs on YouTube and in the world.
No, you don't. No, that doesn't prove anything. Someone's anecdote. A not very good singer who claims to have been told by a doctor that he might have scurvy on the basis that he was eating a diet consisting of entirely chicken and mayonnaise. Well, that won't do, son.
That there are people that followed the cooked carnivore diet that had to stop. They had to stop.
Nonsense. There are people who chose to quit all sorts of diets, vastly more of them that follow diets other than a cooked carnivore diet than in pretty much any other. But sure, there are one or two people who chose, for various reasons, to stop eating a cooked carnivore diet and change it for something different, mostly because they were doing things that were contraindicated and not a good idea, like eating too much protein and not enough fat, or the other way around, consuming a significant amount of, mostly liver is the main problem. You shouldn't be consuming that. That's not a good idea. Adding in carbohydrates, which are contraindicated and damaging, is another classic flaw. Eating 2 small meals or 3 small meals or 4 small meals a day instead of one big one, that's a mistake. All sorts of people make all sorts of mistakes that lead them to fail. Basically, they did it wrong, and they never really were an ancestrally appropriate cooked carnivore diet eater. Okay?
Because they were developing scurvy.
No, there are still no cases of scurvy recorded anywhere in the medical literature, anywhere on the planet. None.
What
still?
More proof do you need?
Well, any at all, because you've provided none whatsoever. You've come on the YouTubes and screamed like a lunatic and chucked rocks around the place, made a bunch of statements that are demonstrably, absolutely, unequivocally correct, and provided absolutely no evidence of any kind whatsoever. So what more evidence do we need? Well, any at all would be a start. My word.
How can you be so clueless and oblivious?
No, guess who's projecting here? It seems that we are all very, very clear about who it is that's oblivious, clueless, helpless, hopeless, destitute. I blame the parents myself of this boy. Had they administered more beatings when this child was a younger child, maybe he would have learned some discipline and the value of respect. Maybe he would have learned the value of actually learning. I mean, the people who are qualified to poke shit at the accepted wisdom are people who have studied the accepted wisdom and can show with actual good reasoning, logic, common sense, scientific acumen, etc., where it's flawed. Not little boys who can't even grow a full beard, who've clearly forgotten where their razor is, and who clearly have, it would seem, some pretty clear hormonal imbalance problems, some pretty clear psychological and emotional problems. Yeah. Anyway.
Don't do it for me. Don't do it for me.
What, we wouldn't do anything for you. Why would we? You are nobody. You are irrelevant. You are just noise that we find wildly amusing because of how stupid you are. How unbelievably fucking stupid you are.
Do it for the people that you're trying to save.
Who are they? Who are you trying to save by joining a nipple-licking community with your little friend Joey there at the back of the wop-wops and somewhere where you can throw rocks and scream inanely about stuff you know nothing about? Who are you saving by doing that? You're not saving anybody with making YouTube videos because nobody's fucking watching your videos, son. You've got less than 400 subscribers. And the only people who are watching your videos are people that are going there to watch your videos because they've seen your video on my videos, thousands of them who've seen that, and a very few of those have sought you out and gone, I've got to see this for myself, out of pure morbid fascination, I would imagine. You're not saving anybody, son. You never will. You are a complete waste of oxygen. You're a waste of space. You're a waste of skin. You're nobody, going nowhere, adding nothing to the world. Sorry about that.
I know that you don't have a child, son.
Son? You're just over 20 years of age, boy. And you don't know anything about my family structure at all, son. Nothing. You know what I want you to know or what I want you to think you know based on what I have decided to make public on my YouTube channel. Whether what I've made public about my family structure and makeup is even true and correct in the real world outside of YouTube's, you have no idea about. None at all. You know exactly dick about fuck regarding my family.
I know that you don't have a child, son.
No, you don't. You don't know any such thing.
But even if you don't, and you're an incel, it's fine. You can still live on this heart. But don't do it for your child that you don't have. Don't do it for me.
I'm not going to do anything for you. Why would I?
Do it for all the people around this world that have chronic diseases. And
what I do to help people with chronic disease around the world is vastly more than you could ever hope to. I have contributed as first investigating researcher and author to a list of peer-reviewed publications helping people with their health that stretch back to before you were born. I have taught in academic higher education facilities on 4 different continents for about the same period of time. Before you were born is when I taught my first class, son. I have influenced probably millions of people who have seen any part of any one of my videos over the last 5 years that I've been making since I've been a YouTube creator. I have about 12 million views on my videos. With a watch time longer than many lifetimes combined. What have you done to help anybody in any way? You steaming fucking little hypocrite. Not a damn thing for anybody is what you've done. ever. You're a complete shit stain. Nothing more.
Carnivore diet is not helping them.
Yes, it is.
In a way that eating raw meat could.
Nonsense.
Bart K!
Scream my name some more inanely. Will it change anything? No.
Son!
No, you're the boy. You ridiculous boy. I'm over twice your age and 10 times your intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, experience, utility to the universe, service I've provided to the world. You pathetic little shit stain.
Child!
Yes, you're a child. We know you're a child.
Stop this farce. Once
No, we know who's undertaking a farce here.
for all. Leave your wife.
I did already. Some years ago. Again, one of those things about my family makeup and structure that you know nothing. Absolutely nothing about.
Because she's the most unnatural being that I've ever seen.
Pim's not my wife, you idiot. You ignorant fucking little boy. This is what I'm talking about. This is just inane nonsense that this boy just opens his mouth and speaks as if he knows anything about anything. No.
Start eating raw meat. You might grow some hair back.
No. Growing of hair, son, has nothing whatever to do with the consumption of raw versus cooked meat. It never has done and it never will do. This also might interest people who want to know that one of the things that is highly associated with male pattern baldness is actually having some testosterone. So.
And, man, your reaction to my debunking video?
No, you didn't debunk anything. You tried 5 times and you failed 5 times. You absolute ridiculous child. Start at the top of the comments section in that video, underneath that video, son. Read every single one of them. If you're even capable of reading. It should make it clear to you.
That I made in 5 minutes was the proof.
No, it wasn't. Well, it was the proof of your idiocy, your lunacy, your lack of respect, your lack of knowledge, your lack of common sense. That's what you proved. You proved that you are an idiot. You proved that you're a buffoon and an imbecile and a waste of space. And you've done it again in this video. What's next?
The 100% proof.
No. False.
That you have autism.
No. Now you're an expert in diagnosing conditions of some kind? Wow. The proof of my autism is in me saying quite openly on many, many times on videos over the last 5 years that I do express a level of one particular form of autism. But, that said, so fucking what? How does that impact on anything I've had to say in terms of its veracity and correctness? I'm still waiting for anybody to assail any of my arguments and prove me wrong on any point of any value or meaning at all. Still waiting. And you haven't done it today or in your last video.
And I don't want anything else to do with you.
Yeah, we don't want anything else to do with you either, you stupid little shit stain. We're done with you. I thought twice or 3 times about, do I even bother with this one? But I thought, oh, well, as soon as I got a lot of views for the last one, they enjoyed it, obviously. We'll do it again just to make it absolutely clear. You are finished here. You have no business on YouTube. You have nothing of value to add or to say. You're a waste of skin. Don't ever cross my path. You're invited to come and have a go, as I said earlier. Take this advice from me, sunshine. Don't ever do that.
Ever again. Because you're a waste of my time.
Projection much?
In my journey.
Yeah, your valuable time living on your nipple-licking community there with Joey, rimming each other. How much do you get paid for that? Which one of us is on the higher hourly rate, son? Which one of us has valuable time? Which one of us is actually doing any form of community service of any kind? Which one? And which one of us is sitting on a commune somewhere with his tongue up Joey Schwartz's asshole? Is it him holding the camera? Is he the one directing you, telling you what to say? Because he doesn't even have the balls to do it himself? You're expendable, so it doesn't matter how quickly your channel gets shut down, destructed. Joey gets to have his fun at your expense again. Pass the tissues. Yeah. Yeah. Good one.
Of feeling as many people as possible. Fuck off.
Yeah, I think we all know who should fuck off. Absolutely.
You bald ass, sick, smelly, unclean.
Well, I do get smelly from time to time if I haven't showered because I've been working 60 hours a week, making videos, dealing with pathetic little cunt trumpets like you. Yep. Am I smelly now? Mildly, perhaps. Maybe. I've been working all day, doing chores, running around, actually helping others with things, being useful in the universe, you know. What have you been doing? You've been rimming Joey Schwartz. Good work, son.
Clean, undisciplined, child, small.
Yeah, we know who the child is.
Dick.
You have no idea about my genitalia. However, it's clear that one of us is suffering from testosterone in their body, and I'm using it like suffering from. One of us has testosterone, and one of us is you little fuck. You pathetic little boy.
Motherfucker.
We all know who it is that's likely to be fucking his mother. It's very, very clear. Anyone with any psychological training can back me up on that and do an assessment and say, right, which one of these two is likely to be fucking his mother? Right.
I'm out.
Good. Good. We hope you stay out too. Right. Well, there's that. Join me next time when someone else will be wrong on the interwebs, but possibly not as amusing as this little cunt. See you then.